Whenever I think about Porto, I think about its vintage beauty, its timelessness, its old traditions that both intrigue and charm visitors from all over the world. But then it's also about so much more. More than its historical buildings, beautiful architecture, and artistic tiles and UNESCO heritage sites. Porto is also about its streets, its parks, the gardens, the musicians on the pavements, and the people that walk along it. It's a place with stories to tell, and the modern life that dwell in this old Invicta city. What do we know about Porto? Portugal's name comes from Porto. Francesinha is from Porto. Port wine is from Porto. What's not to love about Porto? So, welcome. This is In the Mood for Porto. This is a city I keep coming back to. Whenever I'm in Porto, I feel like there's another perspective just around the corner that I haven't yet explored. This time, I walked and walked around the city and discovered so many hidden gems, a few you wouldn't necessarily, customarily find out in conventional guides. So, let's start with food, and be warned, there's so much food to be had in this episode of Porto. I've started the day with breakfast at Negra Cafe, located in Baixá. This is one of my fast becoming favorite cafes in the city. It's incredibly cozy, stylishly decorated, and spacious, set over 2 floors with an outdoor terrace. The food is beautifully presented, and you can tell those pancakes are delicious. Overall, it's a kind of place where you'd happily spend the entire morning or afternoon thumbing magazines, reading a book, and sipping great coffee, of course. After that wonderful breakfast, time to go for a walk from Baixá to the side streets of Porto. And admiring some hidden corners and even the colourful murals through the arts district. Afterwards, we proceeded to Jardim do Palácio de Cristal, or the Crystal Palace Gardens, and there couldn't be any more perfect place to spend the entire morning in Porto. If you're looking for a luxurious green space, this is the place to be. This 19th century landscape garden, set over 8 hectares of space, is possibly the jewel in the crown of Porto. Slow your pace down, relish a long walk around its many large pathways and corners, and then discover those belvederes with astonishing views of the Douro River. You must admit, this place is pretty romantic. Before heading back to the centre, we made a stop at Rota do Chá, this beautiful tea house in Porto's arts district. After the garden walk, get even more zen in this place, one that's inspired by the Portuguese voyage and tea trade in Asia, India and Latin Americas. The range and selection of tea here is mind-blowing, and it's a perfect spot for all tea lovers out there. For lunchtime, we head back to Baixá to try one of the most prestigious cafes in Porto, Café a Brasileira, a hub for writers, artists and bohemians in its heyday. Now it's been refurbished, and its restaurant is run by Pestana Hotel. Surprisingly, we've had a very decent 3-course meal for a reasonable price of €16. Not bad at all. For afternoon coffee and treats, we had two choices. Either go to Mantecaria and have those perennial pastel de natas, or go opulent at Café Majestic, which is nearby. But we found that the latter has become incredibly touristy and almost always packed. Thankfully, we discovered a great alternative, and it's called Calma, this specialty cafe that treats and brews coffee like a pro. Later on, we longed to cross the Douro River to explore the other side of Porto, the district of Vila Nova de Gaia, where there's an embankment that's strewn with restaurants, bars and hotspots of port wine cellars. And what's a trip to Porto without trying one of these wine cellars? However, as we ventured, we figured out we had a better idea. So the plan today was to cross the Douro River to the Vila Nova de Gaia and try one of these port wine cellars. But we thought, you know what? It costs 13 euros per person to go into the cellar to try 3 different port wines in a very tiny amount. So we thought, why not buy 2 very fine bottles of port wine and have a tasting here in Jardim do Moro with this beautiful view. We sat there for a while, enjoying our drinks, and while the view was amazing, the weather wasn't too agreeable. We've been told this is a typical climate of Porto. Being on the north of Portugal, it tends to be cloudier, grayer, even wetter in some months. Nonetheless, we weren't shunned by expectations, so the next day, with more port wine, we went back to the same spot, wishing for a better weather. And by the spark in the forces of the universe, we had a sunset that's as glorious as it can be. This is perhaps the best way to experience Porto, soaking up this atmosphere with that orange sky, beckoning you to stay longer, if not, to come back another time, another day, another sunset that's as good as this. Well, I'll be coming back in the city, that's for sure.